The wedding was meant to mark the beginning of a beautiful chapter, a lavish celebration filled with joy, hundreds of guests, and vows of eternal love. Everything was perfect, until a gift from the bride's father turned the day into a nightmare. Subscribe and let me know in the comments. Where are you watching this from? Camilla and Malik were born just months apart in the same affluent neighborhood of Johannesburg, South Africa. Their families had been close for generations, bound not only by business ties, but by shared culture and deep mutual respect. Their world was one of privilege, built on legacies of success and tradition. But for Camilla and Malik, none of that mattered as much as simply being together. From the very beginning, they were inseparable. Their mothers, both successful entrepreneurs, arranged countless playdates, knowing how much their children adored each other. Their fathers, dignified men rooted in heritage, often joked that the two were destined to marry, even before Camilla and Malik understood what marriage was. As children, they chased each other through their family's lush gardens, their laughter ringing through the warm African air. Indoors, they devoured storybooks side by side, created fantasy worlds of their own, and battled in video games, where Malik usually won. Camilla, never one to back down, would challenge him again every time she lost. As they grew, so did their bond. Deeper, more complex, but still effortless. Even in social gatherings, where they were surrounded by others, they found each other. It was like gravity, silent, constant, undeniable. They trusted each other completely. Their connection wasn't loud or dramatic. It was steady, unspoken, unshakable. When they started primary school, their closeness stood out. Teachers noticed how naturally they worked together, how they balanced each other. Malik was logical and focused. Camilla was bold, creative, and fearless. If she zoned out mid-lesson, doodling in her notebook, Malik would gently nudge her back to attention. And when he hesitated to speak in class, unsure of himself, Camilla would whisper, "You've got this." By the time they turned 10, they weren't just childhood friends. They were anchors in each other's lives. Yes, they argued. Malik's caution sometimes clashed with Camilla's wild spirit, but their disagreements never lasted long. They knew each other too well, too deeply, and neither could imagine a life without the other. They understood each other too deeply to let small arguments tear them apart. But then came adolescence, and everything began to shift in ways neither of them could have predicted. It wasn't a sudden transformation, but a slow, subtle evolution. They started to notice things that had always been there, only now they carried new weight. Malik found himself captivated by Camilla's laughter, how it lit up every room, the way she scrunched her nose when she was annoyed. It was oddly endearing. Camilla, in turn, realized Malik was changing too. He'd grown taller, his once boyish features now sharper. His quiet confidence, once overlooked, now made him stand out. Others noticed as well. Their classmates began teasing. "Are you two together?" they'd ask. At first, Camilla and Malik laughed it off, but as the years passed, the question no longer seemed so absurd. By the time they were 16, everything had changed. What once was an effortless friendship now carried something deeper, something unnamed but undeniable. Malik's heart would race when Camilla leaned in too close. Camilla found herself watching him when he wasn't looking. One evening, after a long study session, they sat on the rooftop of Camilla's house. The sky was awash of soft pinks and oranges, the scent of blooming jasmine drifting on the warm breeze. Camilla turned to Malik, her voice barely a whisper. "Do you ever wonder?" He looked at her, puzzled. "Wonder what?" "What it would be like if we were more than just this," she asked, gesturing between them. Malik's heart pounded. Of course, he had thought about it. but he'd never said it out loud. "Yeah," he said quietly after a moment. "I do." Camilla met his eyes, searching. Whatever she found in them gave her the courage to smile. Soft, hesitant, but full of meaning. Then, without another word, she leaned in and kissed him, light, fleeting, but it changed everything. It was the beginning of something new, unexpected, but wholly welcomed. As their teenage years passed, their bond only deepened. They were still best friends, still each other's loudest cheerleaders, but now they were more. They were partners. Their love wasn't without challenges. People whispered, "It won't last. It's just young love." But Camilla and Malik didn't listen. They knew what they had. By the time they graduated high school, they had already mapped out their shared future, not just as individuals, but as a team. When they both got into universities in the same city, it felt like destiny was giving them a green light. With hearts full of hope, they stepped into adulthood, side by side. They knew the road ahead wouldn't always be smooth, but they also knew this. Whatever came their way, they'd face it together, because their love wasn't fleeting. It was rooted, real. They had no idea just how much that bond would be tested in the years to come. As adults, Camilla and Malik moved forward with purpose. Their dreams, long shaped by childhood ambition, were finally coming to life. Malik had enrolled in one of South Africa's top architectural programs. He dove headfirst into design and structure, pouring himself into his work. Camilla chased her passion for fashion, specifically African-inspired haute couture. She reimagined traditional patterns into modern silhouettes, determined to make her mark. Though their paths were demanding, they never lost sight of each other. Weekends were sacred, time for long drives out of the city, exploring new restaurants, or just staying in and dreaming about the future. They tackled every challenge together. Sleepless nights, academic pressure, moments of doubt. They were a team, unshakable even as the world around them shifted. And as their reputations began to grow, so did their vision for the life they would build, together. Malik's professors quickly saw in him something rare, a visionary mind that blended bold innovation with a deep respect for historical architecture. While others focused solely on modern trends, Malik understood buildings as more than just structures. They were legacies. By his final year, he had already secured a coveted internship with one of the country's top architectural firms, well on his way to making a lasting impact. Camilla's journey was no less remarkable. During her second year at university, she began designing custom pieces and showcasing them online. Her vibrant, fearless aesthetic soon captured the attention of influencers and industry insiders. By her third year, she was interning at a renowned fashion house, and her designs had been featured in emerging designer showcases. She was ambitious, unapologetically creative, and unafraid to disrupt norms. Despite their demanding schedules, Camilla and Malik never lost sight of what mattered most: their love. They had grown together, adapted to change, and embraced every phase of their evolving relationship. But even in the midst of success, one question lingered. When would they take the next step? Camilla loved Malik deeply, but marriage wasn't something she wanted to rush. She had seen too many promising young women abandon their dreams too soon, folding under the weight of societal expectations. She wanted to build something of her own first, to prove, if only to herself, that she could stand tall before becoming someone's wife. Malik understood. Even though a part of him quietly longed for the certainty of forever, he waited, patiently, lovingly, knowing that when the time was right, she'd be ready. Camilla had always dreamed of visiting Kenya, enchanted by its landscapes, its warmth, its rich cultural roots. When she finally suggested a trip, Malik knew this was his moment. He had been carrying an engagement ring for weeks. Their first few days in Kenya felt like magic. They stayed in a luxurious eco-lodge perched on the edge of a sprawling savanna, where wildlife roamed freely and the horizon stretched endlessly. Mornings were spent on safari, afternoons by infinity pools overlooking golden plains, and evenings under skies so full of stars they seemed unreal. Camilla was radiant, capturing the beauty around her through sketches and photos, inspired by the textures and colors of the land. Malik watched her with quiet awe, knowing without a doubt there was no one else he could ever imagine sharing his life with. On the fourth night, he made his move. He had arranged a private dinner on a secluded terrace with a breathtaking view of the wild. Candlelight flickered softly in the breeze, the air alive with the sounds of distant animals calling through the dusk. As the meal unfolded, Camilla spoke animatedly about her future designs and the next chapter of her brand. Malik listened intently, heart racing. Then, as the sun dipped beneath the horizon and the sky faded into twilight, he reached across the table for her hand. "Camilla," he said, his voice steady despite the storm of emotions inside him, "I've loved you since before I even understood what love was. We've grown up together, built our dreams side by side. I know without question that there is no life for me without you in it." Her eyes widened as realization dawned. Then slowly Malik got up from his chair and dropped to one knee. The ring was stunning, custom-made, a delicate fusion of modern elegance and cultural heritage. A brilliant cut diamond sat at its center, flanked by intricate engravings symbolizing unity and eternity.